Get to know the new CEO of CoreNet Global. Today we welcome Scott Wiley and hear his keys to success for the future of corporate real estate and accounting.
How are we ensuring we're creating the space in the places where our people can create powerful impact that aligns with our purpose?
Hello and welcome to the Lease Alert, where we have conversations with the smartest, most interesting people at the intersection of real estate, leasing, and accounting. I'm your host, Matt Waters. Let's learn something together. Today, it is my pleasure to have Scott Wiley, the CEO of CoreNet Global. He's our guest today. And Scott, thank you so much for joining us.
Matt, thanks for having me. It is great to be with you on the Lease Alert, and I'm excited for our conversation.
Yeah, me too. I know you're super busy. You've just been at the helm of CoreNet now for really, I guess, a few months, right? How many months has it been?
I know I get made fun of, but today at this recording is day 42. So we're still in the first 100. I'm still
Yeah.
working a lot, drinking water from a fire hose, but I'm having a blast doing it.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well, from the activity that I've seen on LinkedIn, and then I know I saw you in Singapore, the APAC Global Summit. It seems like you've been here for longer than that many days, but I was
Hopefully that's a
already,
good thing, right?
yeah. I'm basing it on my perception of what you've accomplished so far, and it's a lot. As you know, this is a podcast where we talk about the intersection of real estate, leasing, and accounting, and I think we're going to get into all of those subjects today. For our real estate listeners, they're probably already, very familiar, like I am, with CoreNet and the network and the events that you put on and the MCR training program. That's actually been one of the highlights of my career is serving on faculty for the MCR, the Master of Corporate Real Estate program. And I earned my MCR last year and have actually developed many good friendships as a part of that. But for the accounting listener, those of us with more experience with maybe the AAiCPA or the local CPA societies, the state societies, can you tell us a little bit more about CoreNet and what your role involves?
Yeah. To all those accounting listeners, hello again. I consider those my people, given my background, which I know we'll talk more about in a moment. But CoreNet Global, we're a nonprofit organization, a 501c6. Our global headquarters are based out of Atlanta, Georgia, and we represent nearly 10,000 members operating in roughly 50 countries around the world. And our members are executives and professionals who have broad responsibility, strategic responsibility for the real estate assets of large corporations, primarily global Fortune 2000 companies all over the world. And so our organization, our mission, we focus on advancing the practice of corporate real estate. And we do that through professional development opportunities, publications, research, large global events, in-market events. And we also offer professional designations and networking all over the world. So CoreNet Global, I like to say, we're in the business of bringing people, place, and space together to create powerful purposes that are designing the future of work. And people think about real estate assets and they immediately think about, oh, that's a cost center, right? Particularly
Mhm.
all the good accountants out there. And I love that about you. But what I would share is while corporate real estate professionals work inside of a company with responsibility at the C-suite level and across those portfolios for those assets, in today's business environment, what they're really doing, they're at the intersection of ensuring that boards and CEOs and others in the C-suites who are thinking about creating impact
Mhm.
in their industry, in their sector, in their product portfolio, who are all elevating our number one priority, our number one asset is our people. Corporate real estate executives today are really the intersection of those two conversations, thinking about how are we ensuring we're creating the space in the places where our people can create powerful impact that aligns with our purpose. Whether that's in a traditional work environment, like an office, like a factory, like a manufacturing facility, or et cetera, or it's in a variety of now hybrid and remote ways. But corporate real estate professionals aren't just looking at the assets any longer. They're really looking at the strategies and the portfolios that are bringing those people together with those places and spaces strategies to really focus on purpose. So, just like accounting and CPA professionals are often a trusted advisor to business, so too are corporate real estate professionals, becoming arguably some of the most trusted advisors to help boards, CEOs, and other C suite leaders navigate this new and next opportunity together. And so, Cornet Global, we're really elevating that profession. And in doing so, we're really the industry leading voice for this global profession.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I love it. And I mentioned I've been involved with Cornet, I don't know, probably for about 6 or 7 years now,
Thank you.
and started attending the Global Summit and serving on faculty. And I have met so many people. In fact, many of the guests on this podcast have come through my interactions at the Global Summit and through teaching
Great.
in the MCR program. And it's interesting, in season one of the Lease Alert, we had so many people, almost every single guest, when I asked them about their career progression, they said that a professional organization, many of them said Cornet, made a big difference. In one case, I'm thinking of Alec Wynn, who is an MCR and longtime Cornet member. Alec Wynn is a broker in Denver, and he says he closed the biggest deal of his career that he equated with winning a major in golf. He said it changed his whole life. He gave credit to Cornet for giving him the knowledge to close that deal, and it was finance knowledge. He talked about writing a memo to the CEO. I won't say the whole thing. You can, the listeners can go back and listen to that podcast if you haven't already, Alec Wynn. But he talked about writing a memo to the CEO, delivering the memo, equating earnings per share to relocating the corporate headquarters. And that was just what the CEO needed to hear to give Alec the green light for that relocation. Biggest deal of his whole career. And he's been quite successful. I also talked with a lady who is the founder of a startup. She has a Harvard MBA. She is a CPA. She worked at Ernst& Young, and she got involved with the Harvard Business Incubator, like startup program. She attributed the biggest break in her career to the AAiCPA. And, that professional organization, which also had a startup incubator type program. And she said that gave her her biggest break. And I could go on and on. We had Al Stabile from CBRE. He said the biggest break in his career was through the NRTA. I'll move on to the next question, but I do get fired up about this because, Cornet and these other professional organizations make such a big difference. We had Neil Ubeline, who was also a longtime Cornet member and an MCR faculty. He said he works from home.
Mm.
He's a very successful prop tech entrepreneur, but he says Cornet keeps him connected. He says if you're not connected, you wind up being like a spoke that's disconnected from the hub, if you think about a wheel. And I just thought that was a beautiful way of saying it. And even though, people now work from home, they work hybrid, work from anywhere, right? Organizations like Cornet help us stay connected to each other. And, to your point, you said it better than I could, helps us keep sharpening our skills to be able to have an expanding seat at that decision making table.
So, Matt, I mean, I think you really talk about a couple critical points there. So, as I think about Cornet Global in our space, I really think a lot about a tire on a bicycle, that hub and spoke model. And I think one of our roles is to be that hub
Mm.
that connects those spokes so the tire can move, right? And
Mhm.
in this profession, this industry, but it also takes many spokes to really plug into that hub to make sure that we are building that community and creating that level of engagement.
Mm.
My
Yeah.
experience, so for the entirety of my career, I've been in the association business, working with professional organizations, working with business organizations, working with organizations that are bringing the next generation of the profession together. Earlier in my career, I don't like to age myself, but I was the first global board chair for an organization called ASAE, which used to be the American Society of Association Executives, but now it's global in nature. I was the first global board chair under the age of 40.
Hmm.
And ASAE is really what people call it the Association for Associations. So all the people who lead and run associations in the world belong to ASAE. So it's the hub for those people. And I cannot stress enough for your listeners, regardless of accounting, corporate real estate, or whatever background, be involved with your profession or your industry association is incredibly valuable for your career, but also to help you build relationships.
Hmm.
I would tell you, all the accountants listening today, if you know me, how I feel about you. And for all the real estate people, hopefully you're starting to get to know how I feel about you. But here's where you are the same to me. You're not in the business of numbers and balance sheets. You're not in the business of property management and asset control. You're in the relationship business. You're in the people business. What makes you valuable to the clients, the companies, the organizations you work in are the relationships you have, the relationships you develop, and how you build and foster them. Anybody can do the business of a balance sheet.
Hmm.
Anybody, or in the future, any technology can do the business of space management. What makes you valuable is your relationships and how you curate them, develop them, and elevate them. And so professional organizations like Cornet Global, like the AICPA, like state CPA organizations are incredibly valuable to one, build those relationships, develop those networks. People talk a lot about soft skills. I hate that term. To help you create and develop those success skills that are incredibly important, right? To hear different viewpoints, to learn different perspectives, to open new doors. So I think I would encourage anyone, regardless of your background, engaging with the organization in your profession, your industry is highly valuable. It's also what you make of it. You get what you put in. Right? Can we do better? We absolutely can. We're going to talk a lot about that today. But I would encourage anyone, regardless of what your background is, if you're not now, consider how you might engage in your profession or your industry at a deeper level. My experience has been it's highly rewarding and it's a great, great compliment to your career.
Absolutely. Well said, Scott. So you just talked about the fact that this is not your first gig as the head of a major professional group. So tell us about that last job that you had. And specifically, I'd like to hear more about the difference you made for the accounting profession.
Yeah, so until I joined Cornet Global in February, for the 12 years prior, I had the incredible privilege and honor of serving as the president and CEO of the Ohio Society of Certified Public Accountants. So based in Columbus area, Ohio, where I still reside, at least for the next couple of years. And we represent nearly 85,000 CPAs, accounting, finance professionals, many of whom, about just under 50%, work inside of public accounting firms. So the largest global firm in the world to the one person firm on Main Street in Ohio, as well as roughly 40% of our members work in corporations. So Ohio's home to, I think, 15 F1000 companies alone, as
Mm.
well as a number of medium-sized businesses, startups. The middle market's a huge sector for the accounting space. We have people who were CFOs, VPs of treasury, internal auditors, treasury officials, accountants. All those people were in our portfolio. A number of people who work in government and nonprofit accounting, as well as those who work inside of higher education supporting the next generation. So we got to represent the whole of that industry. What made us unique was our members, CPAs are a state regulated profession. So your license, as you know, Matt, comes from the state. So we worked with members who most of whom lived in Ohio. Many of them did not, though. They traveled all over the world, but their license was based in Ohio. And we were
Right.
part of a broad network that operated all over the country, working in parallel with other state and jurisdictional CPA organizations. We also worked at a global level with the AICPA and NASDA, which is the representative body for state regulators. And our role was really to elevate the profession, ensure that the protection of the public interest was paramount. Ways that we did that was we focused on advocacy efforts. We focused on continuing education, ensuring that our members had access to the relevant knowledge, training, and development they needed to serve their clients and companies better. In recent years, that's really been focused on a broader workforce development strategy to upskill and reskill the profession to meet the demands of the future, but also to chart a really bold course for the next generation of talent. And where there are parallels between corporate real estate, probably even commercial real estate, but corporate real estate and the professional services environment. Every industry across all sectors of business are facing the two T's: technology and talent. Technology is being disruptive in the best ways possible, but also in ways that are creating stresses in the system. And it's creating new opportunities to create a more efficient, a more mindful, but also a more strategic business. But that requires foresight, and thinking ahead and being intentional about how you develop your people and how you prepare them for the future, but also how you think about the roles of the future. We're also operating in an environment, which you and I talked about in Singapore, that by 2030, not in 2030, but by 2030, the global skilled workforce is going to face an 85 million person deficit.
Mm.
85 million across all. So anyone who tells you AI is going to take your job, there's going to be no job for you, that's BS. You heard it here first, right? If you ignore AI, you're going to work yourself out of a job, but that's on you, not on AI. So we've got a tech and a talent issue. Workforce strategies across professions, across industries really need to think about that. One of the things I learned early on in my tenure at the Ohio Society of CPAs through some external market research, which if there's any Cornet Global members on, get ready because we're about to do a similar effort with you, is tell me about your opportunities. Tell me about your challenges. Tell me what keeps you up at night. Tell me about what you see in the market that's changing. We did that in 2014 when I first arrived. We did it again in 2017. In 2020, we actually did it every quarter because there was this crazy global pandemic happening.
Hmm.
And increasingly, executives, hiring managers told us their number one challenge: talent. Acquisition of talent, developing talent, retention of talent was 1, 2, and 3. They also told us the regulatory environment was treacherous and business development was a key issue. So we set out early on to look at how do we really prepare for the future? And we built over the last decade what has become the nation's largest accounting and finance workforce development strategy in Ohio of the next generation. So we have got more than 15,000 high school, college students, institutions engaged in that effort in just one state.
Wow.
We've raised outside capital from companies. We've got government grants. We reorganized our 501(c)(3) to really be the focal point of all those efforts to build a workforce and talent strategy that's really stood up and is now supporting the profession. Are we there yet? We're not. I still say we, and I'm not even there anymore, but passionate about it. And I see a lot of parallel opportunities. Is it the same? It's not. Accounting has a body of work and a knowledge base and a research base that really underpins it in academic settings that corporate real estate has some components of, but doesn't have the level of breadth and depth. And we're going to have to work on that. And how we build global partnerships with academic institutions to do that is going to be important. Cornet Global is thinking about how we stand up our own research arm across the industry to support that effort as well, because we need to really make sure we're providing the level of strategic insights to the industry and the profession to help them in that area. So I think workforce strategy is really important. I talk about advocacy. In the accounting space, we're advocating the IRS in the US about tax policy. Globally, we're talking about IFRS and other global accounting standards. In the corporate real estate space, there's not really that legislative regulatory body advocacy that's occurred to this point.
Mhm.
And I'm not envisioning that gets stood up anytime soon, but I do think to be the industry voice, that indisputable industry leading voice, we have got to really lean into what it means to advocate for the industry.
Mhm.
And whether that's in policy, whether that's in practice, whether that's in positioning, whether that's in leading with research that elevates the work, the role that corporate real estate professionals do on a daily basis, and how they're really underpinning workplace strategy of the future, we've got a central role to do that. I think of that as advocacy. I think of it as telling a story, of making a compelling case for why businesses need to invest deeper, why businesses need to make sure that the people strategy marries the place strategy, and that the role of a corporate real estate executive, the global head of real estate, is inside the C-suite.
Hmm.
It's inside the C-suite. It's not outside. It's inside the C-suite. And that's the role that we'll bring to the advocacy environment. And then I would be remiss if I didn't talk about one of the things that's really exciting to me. I didn't share my earliest CEO job. When I was 24 years old, someone thought it was a good idea to hire me to be a CEO of a college fraternity. So let me just give a power pause there for a minute.
All right.
You say college fraternity? I did. I did. So all those myths, no, I didn't do that every day of the week. But I got to work with the next generation of talent, which is the now generation in our workforce. But I also got to work with the people who were part of that in college and are now alumni, successful in their career. Got to travel all over the world working with young people, understanding what was motivating them. And what I found in that environment was I got to work with young leaders all over the country who were housed in chapters. When it came to the accounting space, I lost that. One of the things that attracted me to Cornet Global was I would get to work in markets with leaders who organized and built communities and engagement inside of a chapter. To me, that is the special sauce of Cornet Global. We've got nearly 50 chapters all around the world. We're building communities of practice around areas of industry interest. But those local market engagements, that community, that is really where the energy gets first created in our global community,
Mm.
building those relationships. And so as we're talking here today, I'm getting ready to go out on a road show, if you will, a tour, starting in the US and then certainly going all over the world to be local in market, listening to our people, learning from them, having conversations that are focused on how do we build trust, because we're going to lead a massive transformation in this profession to really position Cornet Global as the industry leader.
Mhm.
And to do that, you've got to listen and learn to people about what their concerns are, about what their opportunities are, to make sure we're finding those points of intersection, Matt. And to me, listening and learning is about helping people feel heard. Hey, Scott, that's great. You listened to us, but did you do anything with it? Well, people feel heard when they start to see some behavior changes. And so I'm committed to that because that's how we'll build trust. That's how we'll create confidence. That's how we'll be able to take risk to really ratchet up our opportunities, to really accelerate the transformation we need to take, because talent and technology are going to drive the day. We've got crazy macroeconomic conditions, a geopolitical environment that everyone's trying to navigate. There are things coming at us every day that no one knows how to navigate, but we're going to build a community that's going to do that together. So I'm excited, and I get to work with the best people in the world who are all focused on relationships. And I still get to work with the accounting profession. Count me in.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for listening to the Lease Alert. I'd be grateful if you would like and subscribe wherever you listen. Until next time, keep learning and leasing.